So that being said, all of us here on this panel, we are African American women, and I really wanted to know. I read something a while ago about how African American women feel when they see a Black man with a white woman. So I really wanted to know, what was your real perspective on interracial dating and how you really feel about it? Anyone can answer that.
I'll go. I personally believe to each its own. You know, I might not personally be attracted to someone of another race, but then you kind of struggle with, I don't want to come off as being, prejudiced or racist about that. But in my own opinion of everybody else, it's to each its own. And going back to, I think Tanya said she's West Indian. There are white people of West Indian background. So, I might want to date within my ethnicity or my nationality, and then that person won't necessarily be Black. So, and then I think dating is one of those things that, you have to just kind of do what works for you, what you feel in your heart, and what's best for you. So if that person for you is from a different race, to each its own. I don't judge. I try not to, make statements or bring out my own personal opinions about it, because it's really not my business.
So Tashana, I do want to add to that. So whenever I see an interracial couple, to each is their own. As long as you can find happiness and joy in that person, that's really what matters. Prior to being married, I had no problem dating anyone of different color or background. But what I will say, like very similar to what you said, is when you have a Black man that is now with a woman that is not Black, and they are undermining Black women, that's my issue. So if you're dating someone that's not Black, and you're saying that you've dated previously in your prior relationships Black women, and it may have not just worked out, it just didn't work out. Like many relationships don't. But if this time you're in a relationship, you're saying, oh, all Black women are this, or all Black women are that, I have an issue with that, because now you're trying to put a cast all over Black women, saying that your experience with that Black woman, you're depicting it on all Black women, and that's not the case. I have a big issue when there's men that talk down on Black women, period, and you're uplifting another race above your own, because I'm just confused as to, how do you think you became that Black man? You have a Black mother, and you also have Black family members. So how can you feel that you are that person, and then you're going to down talk your own in front of someone else and uplift them? It's just, that part of it is what frustrates me. Like I said, I have no issue with anyone choosing who they want to be married to and love with. But what I have an issue with is when you are undermining your own. That's not okay.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to add?
I don't really have a problem with interracial dating. I have people in my family who are with the white women. But the ones that are with white women, I feel like it had a lot to do with their upbringing, because they were raised in suburban neighborhoods and they weren't around that many Black people. So I think it is just something that for them, that's what it was. So they weren't around Black people. They were raised differently. For my cousin to come over to like my side of town, he'd probably be scared because he's not used to that. It's not that he's afraid of Black women because you're around Black women all the time. You know how we are. It's just that that's what he was around. I mean, my mother being Black caused my father to like totally disown me and his whole family, because at that time, Puerto Ricans didn't like Blacks. So it's like, they totally disown me because of that. So when it comes to dating, I mean, sometimes I'm going to be honest with you. I think like sometimes it does get me mad when it's not somebody in my family, and I don't know why it angers me.
Let's discuss the stereotype of the angry Black woman. How does that make you feel, having that stigma and stereotype placed upon you, when others can be, use the words passionate, but we get the tone of the angry Black woman? How does that make you feel? Let's start with Daina first.
I genuinely, sincerely hate that. That is a problem I have in my professional life. Not that I'm angry or passionate, but it's that I see others describing others. And it's Black women as well. I don't think that it's exempt for, I don't think any race is exempt from, you know, saying Black women are angry or giving us that stereotype. And I genuinely hate it because I have seen other people from other races be passionate, but when, you know, I do the same thing, I'm just angry and I'm mad and I have an issue with a bad attitude and things like that. And it's like, that's just another form of oppression. You know, this is a way that I'm allowed to have feelings. People tell you I'm allowed to have feelings, right? But then when you decide to exercise and show those feelings, you know, to put a stigma on you that you're being an angry Black woman, I genuinely hate it. That's one of the things I really struggle with, because it's like I can't curse out everybody and I can't have this reaction to everybody that says that, especially Black women in all settings. But it's like, we're allowed, we're human, number one. Number two, we're allowed to have feelings. We're allowed to express our feelings. And it's like, how dare you continue to perpetuate this form of oppression against a female? You know, we have enough going for us. And then we just don't need another thing on top of that. So I genuinely hate it. And it's something I struggle with a lot. And I've found myself kind of just being a little sassy with some people in certain situations. For example, schools, I did a lot with schools, and I hear a lot of school principals and social workers describing teenagers, Black teenagers. Oh, she got a bad attitude, and you know, she's just like an angry. They don't say she's an angry Black woman, but they describe the person or the child as that. And then I'm always like, why? I never get an answer that explains to me what this angry Black woman is. And it's just, you can just see that it's just a horrible form of oppression. I sincerely hate it.
I just want to add two things. So I just find it very ignorant. And to be honest with you, I just undermine anyone that uses that terminology, because the terminology angry Black woman, you're trying to insinuate that that person is bitter or angry or overreacting. You're, in other cases, some people are described as passionate. There's nothing wrong with being passionate and making your voice being heard. So I completely undermine anyone that says that. If they say it, they definitely don't say it to my face. They say it behind my back, and that's perfectly fine. If you're not courageous enough to say that to someone's face, then it doesn't mean anything to me. So that terminology, in my opinion, is just something that, it's a stereotype that's being used amongst Black women, period. It doesn't matter what color or shade you are. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think it's going to stay there, because our plight as Black women is always going to be misunderstood, and a lot of people or a lot of women may not be able to connect with it. So something that's mysterious is always going to be looked at as negative in a sense. So maybe it's not for all women to understand, but as long as we understand each other and we can connect with other Black women and be able to understand each other, then that's really what matters to me. Is not for others to understand.
How can I say this? I had to look up really where this whole definition came from. And when I looked it up, it came from something called, hold on, let me pull this up. Called something called the sapphire stereotype. So what it says is an insult in it is an insulting term associated with the most dominant portrayals of Black women. And according to this stereotype, enslaved Black women were aggressive, dominant, and masculine. In antebellum America, the female slave chattel, status, sex, and race combined to create a complicated set of myths about Black women, which perceive them as malicious, stubborn, overbearing, unnecessarily loud, and violent, with African American men being their targets. So and also the negative caricatures of Black women justify this exploitation. Um, I have I've had to be the angry Black person. I think almost every Black woman has had to be the angry Black woman at some point in time. And I think it's just that in certain situations that, especially if it involves white people, that you're not sure of how the outcome's gonna come, especially when you're dealing with children with school, where majority of the teachers are white. And they look at you like some crazy, like, oh, this is why these kids act like this, but if your kid is, sometimes you have to do that. But it's like, then you feel bad for being angry about something that anybody could be angry about. Like, for example, my son was sent home from school without a coat on. He's 5 years old. It was freezing outside. I call his teacher before he even gets off the bus, and I mean, Tashona, you know me, I went off the wall. And she's just like, oh my God. Like, she was like scared of me. Like, after that, she was afraid to talk to me or anything. But it's like, why did I have to do that for something so simple that you are supposed to do? It's like you always are cautious of, like, you don't want to get angry because you don't want to be perceived a certain way. But why can't I get angry about something like that? If that was a white person getting angry about that, they wouldn't be looked at the same way.
If you were a white person doing that, you would be looked at as passionate, upset about injustices that happen to your child. He's 5. He shouldn't be without a coat. You would be in the right in that situation. And that's my issue with the term, because it's just, even if you took out the angry Black woman, it would still be used to describe us, because they have these Karens nowadays going around being the angry Black woman. No one are calling them that. They're just called, the Karens. But it's the same exact behavior. And that's why I feel like I have such a strong feeling with the term, because it's just another form of oppression that I just personally just cannot appreciate, because I'm a person, I have feelings, and I have the right to express those feelings just as anybody else.
Hi, Sherece, thanks for joining us. We are asking the question, how does the statement feel that Black women are least desired, yet they are mostly imitated?
It feels like foolishness, honestly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things that we see in trends and social media and just around us is based off of things that we've done for many, many years that now are being taken. These are one big thing, which are now appropriated all over the place. Things that they're supposedly not cute for a regular mainstream society. Once it's done by somebody that's not Black, a non-Black woman, it's seen as, oh, look how unique she is, look how special she is, but it's something that we've done forever. And it feels, to me, it's just funny. It doesn't make sense. So I don't even try to pay attention to it anymore, because it's like, what's the point? What's the point if even trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense? At this point, there really is no sense in it. It's just like, just let it go. Let it be what it is, because you're going to end up talking to yourself over and over again, and nobody really is going to take actual action in regards to changing those things. So it doesn't make sense at that point. That's kind of how I feel about that whole thing. And I've always felt that way about that.
That is wholeheartedly BS. I mean, I don't want to seem biased, but I genuinely have not seen anything in the world as beautiful as the Black woman. And I feel like I really try to just have an open mind. So who said that? Where did that come from? Another form of oppression, another way to keep the Black woman down. Total BS. I despise the thought of it. If we were so undesirable, our culture wouldn't be appropriated for all these years and wouldn't have made millions of dollars to some of these people. So despise the sentiment.
I think we are the most imitated, and like you said, it just needs to be acknowledged, appropriation that takes place. And like you said, it happens constantly that we've become used to it, but I think there needs to be some acknowledgement of where it's coming from, whether it's hair, clothing, style. it just needs to be acknowledged of where it came from. And also in response to being undesirable. Where I'm concerned about that is who are the ones taking this statistic? How are they categorizing beauty? Are they looking for European features? What exactly makes them determine what is beautiful and what is not? And who are they looking to for that, to determine that? Because, you know, I think like Black women come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and we're all just so beautiful. I think that's what makes Black women so different, is that we look so different, but we all just exude beauty. So like I said, I'm not surprised at this statistic about being undesirable. I would just like to know who are the ones taking this statistic, because obviously their expectation of beauty is skewed.
And if I can add to Shauna and Tanya, when I hear the term undesirable, it goes beyond beauty for me. Maybe it's just that, oh, you know, it's not that you're not beautiful, it's you have other qualities that we don't find desirable, or oh, we don't think you're gonna, you know, make a good wife, make a good mom, maybe you can't cook. So I took it to go beyond just beautiful. And so when Tanya said, you know, she said just attention, or you give the, from where it's coming from, you give the respect to where something's coming from. It's like, all right, I wanna link it with that. Like, where is this coming from? What is it about Black women that are so undesirable? Because it has to go just beyond beauty. Because I don't think that anyone can disagree that Black women are beautiful. So it has to, you know, go beyond just looks.
I think where they go by is that they see that a lot of us Black women don't get married in our lifetime. So maybe that's where they're trying to base it off, that we're undesirable.
A lot of that is embedded with commercials, subliminal messaging, things you're not even really paying attention to, that's beating into your head. Like, even like when I was growing up, dolls, there were no black dolls. There were no black dolls. And it's like they started coming out with the ethnic dolls, but they first came out like with a Japanese Barbie doll. That was first. They went every other culture first before they went to the black Barbie doll. So if you're constantly showing kids that, like, oh, play with the white doll and there's no black doll for a kid to associate with, of course, they're always going to think that. There's no black superhero, so they're playing with all these little white G.I. Joes. So what do you think they're going to think? Unless someone in your family is ingraining that in you, you are always going to think otherwise. And whatever media and TV and your friends and whatever school tells you, you're going to take that for truth unless you take the time to learn yourself or your family is teaching that. And like I said, I've struggled with that my whole life. So now I have children that are every shade of the rainbow. My oldest son, his father is Jamaican. So my son is super dark. Like my son is really, really dark. So my daughter, actually, I want to say 2 years ago, her teacher asked her what she was, and she told her teacher she was white. And I'm like, you're not white. And she continuously said that. And, you know, her and my son had a little conflict with each other, like, you know, like, oh, you're dark. And she didn't like him. And it was like, hey, I'm like, listen, it doesn't matter what color you are. And it's like I said, it's like she thinks if she was still getting that treatment in school, she's getting treated better than other kids. So it's like that. I don't treat my kids different. But it's like, what is it? If you're not teaching that at home and they're still getting that, like, where is it coming from?
When you say undesirable, it goes way beyond beauty. If we're talking about the surface, then it's very evident that Black women are beautiful. But like the previous young lady said, it has a lot to do with experience and perception and what you see. A lot of the things that we are accustomed to, what we hear, it plays out into real life and our experiences. So when I think about a statistic that would say Black women being undesirable, it's what their experience is with Black women in general. How was their work experience? How was their personal experience? Because I think that would determine why someone would feel someone is undesirable. In terms of marriage, I think it's all about having a bond with a person, like what we discussed earlier. When it comes to interracial dating, a lot of people are just attracted to each other because of their energy and the bond that they create. It has very little to do with the physical. Obviously, it plays a part, but when it comes to you creating that bond with a person, you have to allow yourself to connect with that person. And when someone is constantly being told they're undesirable, they may start to feel undesirable. So I think that, like we discussed earlier, it starts at home, how you were brought up, how you were raised to feel about yourself, as well as people that may not look like you. And also, as you continue to get older into your adolescence, you have to exude a certain level of confidence about yourself that other people may not have about you. So I agree with everyone. I think that it's all about experience, and it's all about how you feel about yourself. But the terminology undesirable is just something that I don't think should be associated with Black women, period.
But if you think about the term that they always use, angry Black woman, that literally is something that has perpetuated all kind of through everything. Like everyone has seen, it's in movies, it's in books, people think about it in the workplace. And so if that's the quote unquote stereotype of Black woman, they're gonna use that to keep furthering the same, oh yeah, nobody really wants them because this is how they are. They all are like this. And then you'll find the one or two that might be upset about something, and they're like, see, that's because she's exactly that. They always pick on that one thing and just kind of dump everything into that one thing. Who cares if maybe she had a rough day, something happened with her child at school, or maybe, who knows, her dog just died, you don't know. But all of a sudden, because she's upset, she's the angry Black woman, and it's automatically, this is why they don't go far, this is why they don't have that job, and this is why they can't get that house. It always perpetuates that. And if you notice now that they started putting more Black families on TV as far as commercials, they started with the interracial couples, a Black woman with a white man. And I was like, huh, look at this Black woman with her permed hair. And then he started doing Black women with kinky hair with the white man. And then slowly I started seeing more Black women with Black men. And I was like, this is very interesting how they kind of eased Black women into mainstream society, because it's like more palatable if they wash this out just a little bit with a little bit of Caucasian, which to me is so frustrating. I think one of the biggest things that I thought was fantastic was when more of us started embracing our natural hair, because we went from, you know what, I'm not gonna be what you want me to be by being straight haired and all that stuff. I can do that if I want to, but also I'm gonna embrace who I am without worrying about who you want me to be, because this is our standards of beauty, and this is how we feel comfortable. If I feel like I want to straighten my hair, guess what, I can. But at the same time, if I want to wear my afro, I'm also going to do that, because I have that ability to flip flop, and I'm beautiful either way. And I think that is what we need to also teach our young children, because they, like you said before, the Barbies, all the toys, everything is just this real sleek one kind of view, and they grew up seeing that and thinking that's how they have to be, and not really appreciating themselves for how beautiful they are from the beginning all the way through. All the changes that they can go through, all the variety that we have. You can look at this thing right here. There's 6 of us, and we all look so different and so unique, but still all so beautiful in our own way. And I think that's amazing.
I was going to ask the question, do you feel that in 2020, African American women are tired of being strong? And I want you guys to respond in the context of the fact that even in corporate America, after you are done being male first, white next, white female next, then it's us, that our African American men are taken from our home, which equals single parenting, that we are perceived as stronger in the sense of you complain about something going on and they expect you to just take it because you're Black, as opposing to if you were white, someone would come and help you. And that is in response to you being hurt. Everyone will walk past you first because you are somewhat able to take the pain more. And do you just feel like at this stage, with all of those things in mind, that the African American woman is just really tired of having to be strong, strong with holding down the family, strong with having to take it in the world of, you know, trying to be better and working harder for herself and the things that she wants? So let's start with Sherece. You can answer first.
I think we are. Like, I know personally in my career, I'm a midwife and my population is majority African American. And I have patients coming in every day and they're like, they literally just like breathe a sigh of relief when they get in because they feel like they can just let go all of the facades they had to hold on to and all the I'm strong and I'm this. Because when you're doing that every day, it takes such a toll on your physical that it literally, or your emotional, that it comes out in your physical. Like you will have actual physical expressions of stress, your heart rate elevated, your blood pressure elevated, higher risk of all kind of infections and all kind of diseases, because stress by itself can cause all those things, which is also why African American population has a higher risk of many diseases. They want to play it on, you know, it's genetic. Well, it's stress that's been put on us for years and years and years. And African American women, especially because we're always expected to be strong. And it goes so deep that you don't even think about it. You just kind of naturally just go about your day. But then when you have the time to really vent and get it out, it is an emotional thing. Like you just break down. I've had days just breaking down, being with patients and just being there and experiencing, I'm getting teary, experiencing what they're going through because they have no other way to get it out. When you have to be that strong on a very consistent basis, it takes so much toll out of you. Now I'm crying, but that is such a real thing that a lot of people don't think about. They say, oh, you know, you can just suck it up, you'll be fine. It's not always that easy. And when you have that kind of stress on you on a regular basis, we don't always have the outlets that everybody else has. Therapy is well and great, and I support therapy 100%, but a lot of therapists are not us. And talking to somebody does not look like us, hasn't been through what we go through, it's really hard for them to experience or even understand to help us what we're going through. Going through those kind of things, you need more than just talking to your friends and family, because they're going to tell you to suck it up. Because they're still also going through the same thing. And they're like, you know what, if I can do it, your mama can do it, you can do it. Like I literally have a patient right now whose family is telling her, this depression is not real, you're okay. Meanwhile, she's tried 3 times to commit suicide. Like this is the kind of things that we go through on a regular basis, because people think just because we put on this persona of being so strong that we really are. And I've been tired of it for a lot longer than 2020. But now that everybody's really coming to realize how much systemic racism is going on, it's kind of like we're like leaving our state, letting out a sigh of relief. Like, yes, you finally see that it's not just a face. This is just what we have to put out into the world, so we actually are not viewed as the angry Black woman, because the stress is so real. Whew. Okay.
Thank you for sharing, girl. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I was gonna say like 99% of what Sherece said, but I like that she made it more clinical, because that's your field. Like as a mental health professional, I see that as well. And yeah, I agree. I think Black women been tired since a lot long before 2020. I think it culminated and then it's now being expressed differently. But yeah, we've been tired for decades now.
I just want to say, coming from a parenting perspective, because like you said, the husbands, the males are out of the home. I'm an at-home mom. I have 4 children. You know, they're from 16 to 2 years old. And, you know, my husband not being home all the time, I am responsible for everything in the house, cooking, cleaning, kids, this, that, and the third. And, you know, he expects for me to take that, you know, because that's how he was raised. Like, I'm supposed to do this, and you're supposed to do that. But honestly, I had my breaking point about a couple of weeks ago. Like, I really had to break down and cry because it is too much. Like, I can't. It's like I'm a married single mother, and it's crazy. It's like I'm at home doing everything, mind you, but he works 14 hours a day. But it's like when you come home, like, need a break, need like 10 minutes. But it's like they do expect you to be that, because especially if you were raised by a single black mother and you saw your mother do everything by herself from a young person, you're going to expect the same from me. But you know, it's like they don't realize that you get tired, and it's a lot. Like she said, like my face was breaking out, like my hair felt like it was shedding, and it's like a lot of stuff. And it's like with them being home, and I just finished college, and I'm doing classes with them. Like I just graduated last week. The kids were doing this. Thank you. The kids were doing everything. Everything was homeschool, so it was like every day I felt like I was really going to lose it. But like I had to take that even 15 minutes to yourself to like get it together, because if you don't take that 15 minutes at least, you are going to turn yourself into a basket case.
Yeah, I just want to add a small point, because I do think that everyone pretty much said everything I would like to add. But I would say from my experience, Black women have been tired of feeling unrelated to and not misunderstood for a very long time. And I can just speak from my personal experience. I know, you know, in a professional environment where I had a breakdown, and it's not something I'm proud of, but it happens more often time than none, that you just don't feel supported in your decision or how you express yourself. And I'm speaking from a standpoint where I'm the only Black person in leadership. And when you have a moment where you feel whether that person has been racist towards you or just very vulgar towards you, and you try to express yourself and you look around and you see no one really looks like you, they cannot truly understand where you're coming from. And I think it's not perceived or reciprocated the way that you need it to be. So I know for me, I think it's important that we have diversity, no matter where you are in your career, no matter how far you get in your career, because I think it's important that when we get to a certain level of success, we need to see each other there, because we need each other. We need to be able to relate to each other, because I think in that moment, my biggest frustration was when I looked around and I was so mad about how this lady was acting towards me. And I didn't see nobody that looked like me. And I was just like, who can I talk to? Like, I had to call a family member, a friend, to really understand, but there was no one at the table with me that could truly understand that situation that I was going through at that moment. And that's what frustrated me the most. So I think we've been sick and tired of not being understood or expressing ourselves in a certain way. But more than ever, I think it's come to the forefront because people are also seeing it for themselves, because we have the privilege of having having social media and these cell phones at our disposal, where things can be recorded and it could be released in real time, where people can see from our perspective for the first time in a long time. So that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we're gonna start wrapping up. I want you all to really think about this question. So with everything that's been going on with the protests, with Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, everything that we've discussed so far, the fact that after men go first, then it's African American men, then we are last on the list. I would love to know from a female perspective where you feel change needs to begin first from where we are right now. Where do you feel change, whether it's in your community, in politics, wherever it may be in your individual lives, that you feel that change needs to take place now?
I happen to have discussed this in a class earlier this week. But my opinion is it needs to be institutional and systemic changes first, because, you know, that Black women are capable. We're not any worse off than any other group. But there's just no avenues. Oh, okay, I won't say no avenues. There's just less avenues for us as Black women than they are for, you know, other populations. So just because of that, I think if there were more programs with diversity, specifically targeted to Black women, I think that is the first step towards a more grand scheme change for us. So yeah.
I agree with Daina 100%. The other thing I would say is that also it needs to come from home as well, because a lot of us, well, I speak for myself, I wasn't raised to vote. That wasn't something my parents even cared about. They didn't say, you make sure you have your voice known. It was just voting what? Oh, there's the president, okay, he's there. Nobody even told me that I need to vote, what was gonna happen if I didn't vote, who I need to vote for, what I need to look for. It wasn't until literally 2 years ago when I looked up what the actual hierarchy is and who actually makes the laws and who changes the laws and who. I didn't know that until about 2 years ago. And I've been voting for the president for years, since I was 20. So it's I think we need to educate our Black people at home so that they can make changes outside of a home. The systemic changes can only happen if we have people voted into office that can actually help us. You can vote for president all day, every day. They're not going to make any changes until you vote in the people underneath him who actually make the laws. Literally, I was just reading an article about DC today because I live in Maryland. DC is trying to get statehood. The president said DC should not get statehood because that would mean more Democrats and more Democratic senators and more Democratic representatives that could change the laws and skew the Republican view. What? DC has over 700,000 residents, more than 2 states in this country, but yet they're not considered a state. DC residents can only vote for the president, not the Congress, not the Senate. Those residents are 63% Black. This is the highest population of Black people in a state in this country, but there is no right to vote. And nobody here, as far as the actual residents, nobody thinks about that because they're like, oh, I'm voting for the president, great. Yeah, that doesn't do anything for you at all because we're not educated to know about that stuff. We're educated to a certain point. Oh yeah, vote for the president, there goes your vote counts, great. Okay, but the president isn't making any laws. He signed the paper that came from the Congress and all the people who actually put the law. He just got to put a little signature on it. He has nothing else to do. So I think it really, to get to the systemic and institutional levels, we have to start at home by educating ourselves and our families, starting them from young so they understand the importance of what kind of power they have, because we have so much power that is so unrealized.
I agree. It does start at home, and it has to start at home because, kids just think, oh, we're voting, it's just the president. No, it's your councilman, where you live at. And I teach my kids, you got to learn about where you live at. Learn about where you're from. Oh, we live in Yonkers. Oh, it's Yonkers. No, you need to learn. Where did all this stuff come from? What happened here? I shared with Shauna, I did an article last year on segregation with the Journal News. And I also did a roundtable discussion with FIOS on segregation with Dominic Carter. And I was a part of the whole segregation thing. I was totally unaware what was going on at the time. Yonkers is a very racist town. It is still a very racist state. But the whole thing is, this series on HBO called Show Me a Hero, which will show you how when they were trying to desegregate Yonkers, and mind you, this is in the 80s. This is 1985, 1988. I was about 5th grade. They were trying to build affordable housing up on Central Avenue, if anybody's aware of where that is in Yonkers. And the city went bankrupt twice, because they did not want public housing over there by the Raceway in the white neighborhood. And I mean, the racism in Yonkers. And I remember you could see people walk around with the pickets, and my godmother worked for the mayor, and the mayor ultimately, after everything was over, he ended up committing suicide. So it's you have to teach your children about where you're from. You have to know. You have to, there's more people than the president that are going to help you. You got to be aware of everything. You have to fight for your education. You can't just, especially with parents too, just letting their children slide through the school system. You need to be present, especially if you are a Black parent. You have to be there because they will take your child through the ringer. If you don't show and be an advocate for your children and show you ain't got some sense, because they like to write us all off as we're dumb and we don't know nothing, we ain't got no education, and you know, we lazy and we this and we that, but that is, you cannot do that. And I see a lot of people just let their kids be in special education and just go so they can get money or a check or something like when things like that are rooted, that you can get money, oh, because there's something wrong with your kid. Like, people are going to live over there, and you end up letting your kid think there's something wrong with them, and there ain't even nothing wrong with them. So it's like, advocate for these children, teach these children to be these politicians, to be these activists for the community. Help your community. Don't get rich and give money and leave your community. Help your community.
Just wanted to add, because I think all these ladies definitely brought up a great point. It's all about educating yourself as well as your household, the youth, about how important it is to vote. I think we all come out and vote in high numbers when it comes to the presidential election, but when there's primaries, when there's elected officials that determine the laws in your community, we're not coming out to vote in these numbers. So like Sherece said, I just think it's really important to start educating from home how significant how significant it is to really educate yourself on how these lawmakers are put in office. There are elected officials. You have to hold them accountable for the things that they have said that they're going to do. So I think when we think about how they contribute to society, or how we are always, you know, concerned with some of the injustices that African Americans face on a daily basis, we have to think about who we put in power, and the fact that we have the power to elect them. So we have to come out in record numbers, and we can't just sit at home and, you know, put a picture up about it. We have to actually take action and do something about it. And so it all starts with the being at home and educating ourselves and our peers and our youth.
Thank you, ladies, for joining the conversation today. I appreciate it. You guys brought up some excellent points. I think you are all correct. It's going to take more than one thing. It's going to take a lot of different pieces for us to make progress. It's going to take us being really consistent and persistent for the things that we want, and continue to make changes in your individual lives daily, and to work on yourselves, because the work is just not outwards, it's a lot of work inwards as well that we need to do. So I appreciate you guys again for coming on.